what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be working on this Troy-Bilt weed whacker. So, it's a Tango Bravo 475SS string trimmer. It's one of the ones with the ends you can change. I've had the string trimmer a long time. It's not one that I use. It's one that I picked up. It wasn't running. I don't know what's wrong with it. So, what I did is I went on Amazon and ordered this carb kit from Amazon to give it a try. It was like, I don't know, 13, 14 bucks. And this is what it all comes with. It comes with the filter, 2 pieces for the fuel bulb, and a carburetor. So we're going to see if the carburetor that comes with it will work. Comes with some spark plugs too. I'm probably just going to leave the spark plug that's in it, try it, see if it works, and if not, I got a spare to put in there. So first thing you got to do is you got to get the air filter off, which this guy here has just got a little push tab. You end up pushing it and then you can pull it off. So then what you got to do is you take that off, take the air filter out. Probably should have ordered a new one because it's about done. So then you're going to take these 2 screws loose here, and I'm going to set this thing down, take the screws loose, and I'll show you guys what's after that. Alright, so now I've taken these 2 long screws out. So now you should be able to pull this off like so. You just leave the one vent line attached to it for now. Make my life easier, I think, if I don't take that off. So you can see it does have the O-ring on it like the new carburetor. I'm going to pull this out of the bag here. Here's the new carburetor. By the way, with the screws, look at them, they are a Torx bit, but they also have a slot cut on them for a flat blade. You can use either. If you find a flat blade that fits it good, you can use that. If not, then you got to get, you know, a Torx bit. Now, the next thing is the throttle line. You can see, let's get that in focus there. You can see how it sits in there. See how that side's bigger? Right there, versus that side. So when you hook the throttle in, back in, you can see that's what you got to do. So you can see how that's set up in there, back in there. So that's something when you pull it, you know, see how it moves like that. Pull throttle. So you got to get that shoved back in there. And try to keep an eye on where your fuel lines are so you can put the return line and the pressure line back in there, right? It looks like the kit that I bought came with it like this. This does not look like it's going to work. So I'm going to have to probably fish in the line and go from there. But let's get this carburetor off and we'll go from there and figure out everything else. Should just pull off like so. So this thing's got a big gasket. Hopefully this new gasket will work. I think it will. Let's flip this over here. I guess as long as it's like that, it will be fine. Doesn't seem to have a need. Why that one's... I don't know. Let's pull this back here. Look at that. I don't know why. See, there's a little slight difference there. That's drilled. That one is not. I don't know. I'll put it on there and try it. See if it runs it. So we can go from there. So now your next thing, what you're going to have to do is this throttle line. You're going to have to push back and get it off. Let me put this phone down and I'll pop that off. Alright, so now I got that line off. What I had to do was I took a little pick where I could get in to the carburetor up there and just pretty much pulled the pick across it, you know, like so, to pop it out. Now, one thing I would suggest doing is if you haven't changed your carburetor like this, make sure your new carburetor runs it and it runs fine before getting rid of this, because this carburetor here is an OEM one, so this one might be good to maybe buy a rebuild kit, put a rebuild kit in, and keep it on the shelf maybe for next year. So I just wanted to try to get this thing running quick, so I just figured I'll slam a new carburetor on it and see. And you know what I still might do is I might order a rebuild kit for it and make a video of rebuilding this little carburetor. So that way I can show you guys how it comes apart and how to rebuild it. Next thing is, okay, now you got the carburetor off. Make sure your fuel's drained really, because you're gonna have to go into the tank. It's like, see chunks down in the tank from the old fuel line. So you're gonna want to try to get all that stuff out so you can run your new fuel lines in there. Your return line goes there, and one of your pressured lines or your suction line goes there. So you're gonna want to, try to get all the old chunks out. So when you drain, you get all the stuff out of the tank, it'll be good. But right now I'm gonna set this down again, and I'm gonna dump out the tank. And pretty much what you do, well, I can show you that. What you do there is you just take it, make sure you got a nice area that you can work and not worry about anything. You just kind of go like that and just shake it upside down. You can see all the stuff just falling out with it upside down. So, and there you go. That's how you do it. So you can see what we got here is we got an old chunk of fuel line. Got another chunk of fuel line. Got a bunch of little chunks of fuel line. And your old pickup filter. So your weighted filter to keep it down on the bottom. Here's a new one here. So what I'm gonna have to do though is I'm gonna have to pull these lines out and fish them through the tank. One of these will be probably this long one here is your pickup. With the size of it, I'll have to check. And then my guess is the shorter one here is probably a vent. If your tank had 3 holes in it, one would be a vent because of the cap on it. And this other one's a return for when you prime it. So when you prime, your return fuel goes back into the tank instead of all over. So, I'm gonna set this down for a minute, just pull these out of this hopefully, and then I can push it up through so I don't have to drill a hole or anything in the tank. So I don't really want to do that for this stuff. So let me set this down for a minute and I'll get this done and show you guys. Alright, that was real simple. All I did was just hold on to the rubber, took one hand, grabbed there, and held on to the rubber and pulled. So now I got my 2 chunks of fuel line off. One should be a return and one should be the suction, I guess you could say. What might be the easiest thing to do is to take one and try to push it in there like this and see if you can get it into a point that maybe you can grab it with some tweezers, forceps, something like that, where you can grab it, pull it up, and put your weight on there, and then pull it back through. So that's what I'm going to try to do, and I'll get that done and show you guys. Alright, so I've ran into my first problem here. Now, this kit I ordered, like I said, came with this black fuel line. Okay, I cannot get the black fuel line shoved in there. Okay, I cannot do it, and I think the diameter is too big. Yeah, so you can see that. I also ordered some other stuff that had 4 different diameters. This diameter of this clear stuff is smaller. Okay, I bought this for another weed whacker that I gotta fix. So I'm thinking I can get this in, because this stuff with 4 different diameters that I bought was a couple bucks more. But you got some really small stuff, you got some bigger stuff. Like the really small stuff will go in there no problem, but it doesn't hold. This bigger stuff doesn't really fit. So I'm gonna go through and figure it out. So if you guys are doing this and looking at it or thinking about it, maybe order the carb kit, the carb itself, which was cheaper by just itself, and then just order the fuel line separately. So I'm gonna try to get some of this stuff in there, and then I'll go from there. Alright, so what I did here is I pushed that line in. I used my pick a little bit to get it started so I can get the tip in. Okay, I pushed it in enough. Then I looked around for what I had that was a hook. It's actually an old battery hold down. I just needed the hook end. So I reached that in there, I grabbed the line, pulled the line up enough so I can get to it. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to take this weighted filter. I'm just going to shove it down on the line. Let me try to see if I can get this set so I can use both hands. Sorry guys, I don't have a tripod to really hold this thing. So sorry about my camera work, but I do the best I can. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to set this down, push it on, then I'll show you guys. Alrighty. 2 hands works the best. So I pushed it on. Now that I got the weight on there, weight and the pickup on it, I can let that go. I can push that back down in the tank. And then what I can do is I can pull this line back up, get the extra out, push it down, try to get it swung. So that way it wants to sit down at the bottom of the tank. Okay, so now I got it sitting down there at the bottom of the tank. I'm going to adjust it a little bit. So that should probably be about good. You want it sitting around the tank. You know, down here might be better because if you think about it, when you're weed whacking, it's going to be tilted like that. So where's all your fuel going to be? It's going to be down in this front corner instead of not that corner, but that corner. So now that I got that on there, as you can see, I still have plenty of extra for doing my other one. So now what I can do is, I think this is the same line that I'm going to need for the other vent. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to shove this other end in there for the return. Okay, and then I can put the carburetor on, then I can cut the lines and plug it in. So let me, oops, sorry about that, guys. Let me do that and I'll show you that. And the other thing I'm thinking about too is before you put the carburetor back on, make sure your surface here is clean, that you don't have any chunks of gasket left there or anything that's going to cause an issue with the seal. If you don't clean that, don't have a good seal, it's not going to run right. So the other thing too is, like, this is a 4-cycle, like your car, for example. Your car engine's a 4-stroke. This is a 4-cycle. Car engines are 4-cycle. Most weed whackers, a large majority of them, are 2-stroke, which means you have to mix oil and gas. So you want to make sure you do that before you put your gas back in it, that you have oil and gas mix. Unless, if you don't and it's a 2-stroke and you run it straight gas, it's going to seize the engine up or lock it up, and it's going to be about worthless. Just as a little tidbit of info. Alright, I'll show you guys what I did. Is I took the other end of my long line, I shoved it back in there, so as you can see it is now in a loop. So when I put the carburetor back on, I can run this line up to the return and I can cut it. I can run this line up to the return and cut it. Oops, sorry, let me show that again. Run this outboard one to the return and the inboard to the pickup, and then I can cut them both and I still have my chunk of line. So that way I'll still have enough line to do my other weed whacker. So let me show you guys that and we'll go from there. One thing that helps to do first is to hook up your throttle cable. It's going to be up in here in the back and you really can't reach it. With your gasket, you want to look and see how your gasket goes. Like on this one, your gasket will go like that. That's how it should go. So it wouldn't make any sense to put it like that where it wouldn't really cover anything. So I'm going to put it like that where it's got the flat body up against it. And it should seal. So life should be good. So hopefully it'll seal up good and make a nice tight seal and work. So when I shove the carburetor up there, you guys won't be able to see that, but I figure I'll show it to you now. Alright, so I got the carburetor bolted up. Like I said, all you really need is a flat blade. You just get everything aligned and then just tighten your screws back down. You're not trying to torque, super tight, but you just want them tight. So I had a spare gasket. Make sure your gaskets and everything are in there. So now what I did here is this fuel line, I just took a rough guess and said, okay, that should be about good for both of them. And I cut them with a pair of scissors. So now you just make sure you put your pickup on your pickup, your return on your return. Like I said, to check it, I got finger on the one, I can't push it. Put the finger on this one, I can push it. So that's suction, this is pressure. So you put your return line on there like that. Put your suction line on your other one, just push it on there. Get it all the way on there. And that's how you get that. So now all I got to do here is I just got to put fuel and put the air filter back on, which I'm going to wait until I get a new filter. But for testing, I can put some fuel in it and I can see if I can show you guys it running. So, and make sure your choke and stuff's free too. Like here's my little choke knob. It works. So that's good. So let me get some fuel and I'll see what I can do. Alright, I just put some fuel in the tank. I put the fuel cap back on. As you can see, the primer bulb's still empty. So let's give it some pumps and see if I can get some fuel up in it. See it coming up in that line already. Alright, got some fuel coming in there. Oh, there you go. It's coming through the return. So that's good. That should be good. Let's turn the choke on. Choke on. Yep, blocking the plate. And I'm gonna set this down on the floor. And let's just see if she'll start up. Oops. Make sure you have a good hold on it. Usually use a hand and a thing, but there we go. I have to give it maybe another prime here. Maybe it's choked too much. So, I'll see. I probably gotta give it some throttle, so I'm gonna turn this off for a second. There we go. I had to clear it out a little bit. I had it a little bit flooded. It's a nice warm day, and I used choke on it, so it flooded it. So I need to do some tuning on the carburetor. You got a little screw right there. Let me find a little screwdriver, and I'll see what I can do. Alright, so all I did there, let me turn this off for a minute. Alright, all I did here is I took this little screwdriver with it running, I put it on the screw right up there, and I gave it just about maybe a 1/16 of a turn, I'd have to say. And I did it counterclockwise to screw the needle out to give it some more fuel. So that way it has a little bit more fuel. You screw it in, it should lean it. You screw it out, it's going to richen it. So what I did there is just gave it a little bit outward because it seemed like it wasn't getting enough fuel. So let's see here. I'll see if it starts right back up. And hopefully it should. Alright, I went through, put the air, I got an air filter, put it back on there with a new air filter in it. Thing seems to run pretty good with that carburetor kit from Amazon. It was like 10 bucks. Well, 13 bucks with the fuel lines. The other stuff, I bought the other fuel lines at a couple of bucks, but you know, in the end of the day, you'll have under 20 bucks in your weed whacker between filter, carburetor, everything. And I'll see if I can show you guys one pull. It's warm, I ran it a bunch, but we'll see here. One pull, starts right up. So that's how you put a carburetor on this Troy-Bilt weed whacker. You know, just put a carburetor, fresh gas in it, and I got my weed whacker running and cutting, ready to use for the season. So if you guys like my video, please like, subscribe, follow, comment, ask questions. I'll try to answer any questions you guys got. So, but that's how you put a carburetor on it. Thank you all for watching. Have a good evening or afternoon or whatever time of day it is you're watching this video. Thank y'all.